Good evening. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. In a landmark judgment today, the Supreme Court said that you can't seek votes in the name of religion or caste. The court said that anyone who violates this now will be disqualified if elected. The order comes just ahead of state elections, crucial elections in fact, in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Manipur and Goa. The biggest question though is, how is this going to be implemented and how exactly will this impact campaigning? Does this mean no more appeasement, for instance, of Muslims as a vote bank? Does it mean the end of Ram Mandir politics? And what will Mayawati campaign on? There are lots and lots of questions that this order today has raised. Well, let's take a look in some detail at exactly what the Supreme Court judgment said today. It was a majority in the 7-judge Constitution bench led by the outgoing Chief Justice T.S. Thakur, which said that religion has no role in the electoral process. The relationship between man and God is an individual choice, and that an election is a secular exercise. However, there were 3 judges who dissented on the bench, and they said the judiciary cannot redraft the law, that talking of religion amounts to debate, the spirit of discussion, debate and dialogue sustain democracy, and to prohibit a person from speaking legitimate concerns reduces democracy to abstraction. What is the impact of this judgment going to be? Joining us on the program tonight, we have senior lawyer from the Supreme Court, Mr. Dushyant Dave. Also with us, the former Chief Election Commissioner, Dr. S.Y. Qureshi. We have Dr. Vivek Kumar, Professor in the Department of Sociology at Jawaharlal Nehru University, Pawan Khera from the Congress Party, and Mr. G.V.L. Rao of the BJP also joining us tonight. Mr. Dave, let me ask you first to explain the significance of this order, because from our understanding, you already have the Representation of People's Act that made it illegal for candidates to seek votes based on religion and caste. Today's order, from my understanding, basically broadly defines who could actually be disqualified in the event of asking for votes in the name of caste or religion. Is that it, or are we missing something here? Why is this order so important?
Well, this judgment is important because, frankly, it only amplifies what section 123 subsection 3 provides. So it's nothing exceptional. But there was a problem on account of 2 previous judgments of the Supreme Court in Ramesh Prabhu's case and in Manohar Joshi's case. Both these judgments were delivered in 1996 by a bench presided by then, I think, Justice Verma. So that law that Supreme Court had declared in 96 had perhaps thrown some kind of a doubt about the real ambit and scope of section 123(3). Frankly, the section begins with a deeming provision, and it says that the following practices shall be deemed to be corrupt practices. Now, one of the practices notified under subsection 3 is a practice by any candidate, agent or any other person with his consent to vote or to refrain from voting on a ground of religion. Now, once there is an express provision which is made in the section, then I don't think there was any other meaning which could have been given by the Supreme Court. I think those judgments in Prabhu and Manohar Joshi's case were wrongly decided by the Supreme Court, and the present bench has therefore correctly interpreted. And I would assume, although I have not had a chance to read today's judgment, which is not made available till now, but I would assume that they have overwritten those previous judgments of the Supreme Court.
So as you say, it amplifies.
Nothing.
You're saying it amplifies what the law already has. However, then that also leads us to the question, Mr. Dave, that if this was already there in law, doesn't that raise a fundamental question about how we implement the law? And, whether it's feasible to do this, because we all know that parties ask for votes in the name of caste, certainly, and even on the basis of religion. We've seen it happening over the years. How is, therefore, this law, this order, this judgment going to be implemented in practice?
Well, Nidhi, that's a very tricky question. We have become a lawless society, and politics is not free from that lawlessness. So it's going to be extremely difficult because, you must understand that secularism is a basic structure of the Supreme Court as defined, basic structure of the Constitution, as Supreme Court has said in number of judgments, including in Bomai's case. So that's one thing you have to begin with the understanding. Secondly, under the Constitution, Article 25 guarantees religious freedom, but it says in Sub-Article 2 that the state has a power to enact a law which can restrict even a political activity on the ground of religion. Now, I think section 123(3) is clearly referable to this power under article 25(2). Therefore, state has a power to put the restriction, state has put that restriction. The difficulty, as you rightly say, is in implementation, and that really depends on the election commission. I think over the years, unfortunately, the election commissions have been ignoring, large scale, I would say, violence by the candidates and their agents and other persons. Political parties across the board have not cared much, and they have been seeking votes not only on the ground of religion but on the ground of caste and other considerations.
Okay, you're blaming the election commission for it. Mr. Qureshi is here as well, and Mr. Qureshi, you have welcomed what the Supreme Court has said today, but I ask you the same question. How does it actually get implemented? And what complicates matters is that what the court has said is that it's once somebody is elected, now assuming tomorrow Pawan Khera decides to canvass on the basis of caste and religion and he gets elected, then he gets disqualified for it later. Doesn't that just complicate everything? And I mean, that means a case could drag on for a long time, and an election that has been held could be declared null and void. How is this going to be implemented?
No, there is no problem in the implementation, because the threat of disqualification, unseating and disqualification is a very serious threat, and it is a big deterrent. And what Supreme Court has done today is only reiteration of an act which already exists. A Representation of People Act, section 123, already says that you cannot use religion to ask a voter to vote, or ask somebody not to vote in the name of religion, or use a place of worship for election campaign. It is only a reiteration of what already exists. Now, somebody was saying whether Election Commission has been effective or not. The answer is very clear, that Election Commission immediately gets an FIR filed and for a corrupt practice, and also it issues a notice under the model code immediately. And after that, in any case, the corrupt practice is decided by an election petition, which is the jurisdiction of the High Court. And courts come into play only after the results have been declared. So this is a established procedure, an established law.
Mr. GVL Rao, let me ask you, does this mean that we're going to stop hearing, for example, BJP MPs or leaders in UP talking about a Ram Mandir now?
No, Nidhi, in a country where you have political parties registered in the name of religion, I think what kind of a secularism are we talking about? You have Indian Union Muslim League, which is a constituent of UEDF, Congress-led UDF in Kerala. They have been in power together for several years. You have had AIMIM, which is a party which consists of the name of the religion. And the UPA, he was a UPA ally at the center, and they were in power together in Hyderabad, in the Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad. So in a country like this, where iftar parties are considered secular, and a reference to Ram Navami is considered to be communal. In a country where the degeneration of the term secularism has happened only in this country, possibly this term is not even understood if you go to the West, that nobody uses this term. Here very conveniently abused, secularism was abused to mean appeasement of minorities, and BJP, we stand for non-appeasement of anybody, and therefore this is considered non-secularism. This is bogus, and we completely reject such forms of, reject these forms of classification. We certainly believe you have a law in place, and therefore religion shall not be used as a way of seeking votes. But all political parties, particularly dominated by the Congress party, have done this repeatedly. You have had Sonia Gandhi asking for a fatwa to be issued by Bukhari. Can you call that, is that secularism?
I agree with you, and I will ask the Congress about that. I will ask the Congress about that. However, I'm also asking you whether this means that the BJP's leaders will stop talking about the Ram Mandir.
You see, in the context of, in the election campaigns, I think using anything in reference to religion is prohibited, and certainly Election Commission is the ultimate authority. We believe Election Commission under various regimes, irrespective of who was in power, have done great service, have held all parties accountable. So certainly I think we should have trust in a constitutional body like Election Commission to interpret anything which is considered illegal and take appropriate action. But you see, you cannot narrowly look at religion also. I would like to put it up for discussion. Can we not really discuss triple talaq? Let's say a particular party, be it the Congress, BJP or anybody, even a Muslim party, wants to abolish the practice of triple talaq. Can that not be a part of, is that not social reform? Can that not be a part of a manifesto of a political party? A social reform, should we completely delink
in other words,
religion and
BJP
reform
leaders are
from-
not going to ask for the building of a Ram Mandir in this UP election.
We have never asked in Lok Sabha. You can go back to our Lok Sabha campaign. You look at our manifesto. Look at our manifesto. What have we written about
many
it?
of your
Be
leaders
it
in Uttar
about
Pradesh
triple
talking
talaq,
about
be
a
it
Ram
about
Mandir.
Ram
Vinay
Mandir.
Katiyar said it only a few months ago that there needs to be a Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. That's why I'm asking.
Dr. Swami.
Dr.
I
Subramaniam
think,
Swami,
Nidhi, do
others.
not confuse elections. Do not, you see, election, the Representation of People's Act comes into effect only when elections are held. Rest of the time, what the
I'd like to
governments
come in
do,
here.
parties
Pawan
do,
Khera
I'd like
wants
to
to
come
come
in
in.
here.
But Pawan
You're
Khera, there is...
You've given him a lot of time.
No,
Now I need my
he made
time.
a lot of important points as well. I mean, you know, the Congress has talked about, for instance, reservations in the name of religion, reservations for Muslims. That became very controversial as well. There has been an accusation that the party has gone out of its way to appease minorities. You've had Sonia Gandhi meeting clerics and religious leaders. You know, are you not also canvassing in the name of religion?
Listen, I wish this judgment had come before 2002. The history of this country would have been different. Narendra Modi would not have been able to deliver the Bechara ji speech in which he said, "Hum पांच, हमारे 25 बच्चे पैदा करने की मशीन, क्या मैं राहत शिविर खोलूं?" All those very highly poisonous statements would not have come. I wish this judgment had come before September 2014, when in Muzaffarnagar, Amit Shah goes and says, "Badla lo." FIR was lodged, but nothing happened, nothing came out of it. So, as far as the judgment on the religious lines is concerned, I seriously believe that this has removed a lot of ambiguity which was caused by the Justice J.S. Verma order of 1996. But when it comes to caste, now reservation is a government policy. What happens to that government policy? If I am promising reservations to X caste, am I violating this order? Because reservation is a government policy, I guess Mr. Dave or Mr. Qureshi would be in a better position to comment on that. So there is ambiguity as of now. We haven't read the order because it hasn't come out yet. But using religion between two elections, just because there is no model code of conduct in force right now, does not mean that people can get away with communalizing the narrative. Definitely the election discourse will undergo some cleanliness. But what happens to an organization like RSS, which is neither here nor there, which is not registered as a political body, which is not even registered under any act of the law of the land? What happens to those organizations? This law does not apply on them. They continue spreading the entire Sangh Parivar. They continue spreading poison, not just during elections, but between two elections, 5 years across the country. What happens to them? Will this law
Anthony
apply
report.
on all
Read
these
Anthony report.
ambiguous organizations, Sangh Parivar organizations? Does it apply on them? No, it does not.
I'll get Mr. Rao to respond in just a moment. I want to ask Professor Vivek Kumar an important point on caste that Pawan raised, which is that, yes, you know, caste-based reservations, for instance, are a part of government policy. And how does this order then reconcile that? Also, the fact is that, as my colleague Prashant Jha has written in the Hindustan Times in a very good column this evening, you know, he says political mobilization often happens in India on the grounds of identity. That's how Dalits, for instance, have been able to get political space in this country. And that just reflects a social reality. What about them?
I think that's where actually the implementation part needs to be looked a little bit more carefully, because you know, there are identities or people with natural identities or group with natural identities, those have suffered a lot for thousands of years. Now, if they have tried to accumulate some cultural capital out of their identity, you are debarring them. But you don't debar those people who keep on professing the name of, you know, go to Pakistan, love jihad, cow, and obliquely they are referring to the people of different identity, natural identities, and that happens at the electioneering time. So I think implementation is going to take a really Herculean task, because there are identities within identities. What about surnames of the castes? Like, surnames in northern India, they are so easily identifiable with particular religion. And also there are political parties. Shiv Sena, where will you take actually Shiv Sena? He is only talking about MIM, but he is not talking about Hindu Mahasabha or Jana Sangh, which talks about Hinduism. The ideology, their manifesto,
No,
their
but what will
whole
caste-based
program.
parties like, for instance, Mayawati?
No,
What
I
about
will not-
RJD, Lalu Prasad,
No, I
RJD?
think-
I mean, these are parties that actually do seek votes, and they're very, they're very driven by caste
No,
politics.
but I think you have to understand that they are not asking that vote for a particular A or B or C caste. They are talking about a constitutional category which is known as scheduled caste. Now, in schedule there are 1,231
Are you
castes.
saying the court judgment is contradicting?
I think actually
what
you
is
have
already
to
there
look
in the constitution?
I think court judgment has to look into the natural identities, those who have suffered. Second, there are constitutional categories, whether you can really mobilize them within the name of constitutional category which has been given. And when we talk about Bahujan, it is a conglomeration of scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward castes,
I want to take
as well as
what you're saying to
converted
Mr. Qureshi.
minorities.
Mr. Qureshi, how does one reconcile the the issue of caste in this country and the constitutional position of caste in this country and scheduled caste, for example, with this judgment today? I mean, there are parties and many argue who also rightly seek to give a voice to communities who've also been suppressed for years because they belong to a particular community. How does the judgment reconcile with that?
I don't think there is any contradiction, because we have scheduled caste reserved constituencies or constituencies reserved for scheduled tribes. There only candidates belonging to these castes can contest. So in a way it encourages kind of a casteism, if that is the implication that you are trying to make. But appealing to a community in the name of their caste or religion is what is forbidden under this. If a Muslim leader says that since the other candidate is a Muslim and you voters are Muslims, please vote for him, it is definitely communal. But if he says you vote for X candidate without referring to his religion and the voters' religion, then it is fine. And so, for instance, even in our case in UP, when I was there, one community leader appealed to his caste leader. He says, since you belong to that caste, you please vote for X. Immediately we hauled him up, and he backtracked, apologized, and we moved on. Secondly, somebody said that Election Commission doesn't act. Election Commission files an FIR, and once the FIR is filed, it goes into judicial domain. What happens to the FIR has to be
But sir,
followed
how
up
many
by the
political
judiciary
leaders are hauled up
and
for
not
hate
by the
speech?
Election Commission,
I mean,
because it
we
is
have
not in our
Bal
hands at
Thackeray's
all.
case, which is such a well-known example. Cases dragged on for years before there was a pronouncement in anything. I mean, how many leaders are actually taken to task for communal speeches in this country?
Yes, correct. That is the grievance of the Election Commission, because the Election Commission takes action in time and promptly. But what happens to those FIRs in the judicial domain? That is a matter of concern. Even cases like election petition, the law itself provided that the election petition should be decided within 6 months. But no High Court has been deciding it even in 4 years or 5 years, except for Kerala High Court, which has been deciding in 1 year.
FIR was
And last year,
launched
2 years
or
ago, Supreme
filed
Court had
against
come out with a very
Narendra
important
Modi when
judgment.
he said that I'm a Dalit. When he was contesting election, nobody even actually saw the way he was time and again, highlighting his caste, his association with lower strata in the last elections. And where were actually people when Bihar election was taking place? Cow was given as an
Mayawati says she's a Dalit all the time.
but not at the election time in the
Of
rallies.
course she does.
I don't think so. I have never heard actually that when she says that I am Dalit
think
Tibeti
he's-
and
GVL
he
Rao,
closes
Mr. Rao,
his
go ahead.
ears.
Go ahead.
I think Vivek Kumar closes all his senses when he is listening to leaders of his choice, and he wants to accuse everybody else without a basis, without any foundations. I think his biases are known, so I will not waste my time on him. I think look at the way Congress party is trying to
national elections.
Congress
you can
party.
listen to them. Why,
Look
why,
at
why
the
you
look
not
at
listening,
look,
actually?
look at
I
the
have heard
manner
his
in
speeches
which.
during
Come
the
on,
election
I
commission.
don't want to waste my time.
Fine.
Please, I know your bias. I know your. Please, I think let me
You
not
are not
spend
biased.
any more time
You are
on that.
representing a
You see,
political
as far
party
as
and you say,
Terra,
"I'm biased," you are not
as far
biased.
as
You are neutral.
no,
Who
my
is neutral in
identity
this
is
world?
known.
Please tell me.
You are hiding your identity.
I'm not hiding. My identity is known to the world.
Observer.
Am I so big that
Now
my
tell me,
identity
are
should
you a
not
member
be
of?
known?
Are you a
I'm
member
known
of
actually to everyone.
Congress Party? Are you a member of the BSP? That's
I'm
not
not-
the
I'm
issue.
not
I
a
don't
member
want
of
to
any party,
debate
but
that.
I'm not
I don't
neutral
want to
also
waste
like you
yours
as you are
time.
causing.
No, but because you or just say I hate BJP.
Why
You
should
just say
I
I hate
BJP?
BJP, so I have
He
to
doesn't.
speak
He's
against
only
them all
he's
the
only
time.
he's only
I have
raising
this
a point of
prime out reason I
criticism.
want to attack
No,
the
this
BJP.
is the intolerance which you show and you say
No,
that
that's
we
not
should not,
criticism.
we should
Nidhi,
not
people
have a
can make
criticism of
out.
yours.
Okay.
When you hate somebody, when you want to, when you have
These
when
terms
simply-
you can only
Everybody who
when you have
criticizes the
such a
BJP doesn't
strong
hate the
prejudice-
BJP and doesn't
Come on,
necessarily
GBL,
love the
you are-
Congress. Okay, one second.
No.
Mr. Rao.
No, he's.
Yeah,
he-
Mr.
no,
Rao,
no,
let's
no,
get to the
absolutely
questions that
not,
were raised.
Not
Go ahead.
everybody, but Vivek Kumar is in a different category altogether.
Well, that's your
He-
view.
he is
But
not
the
somebody
points
who
that
looks
both
at
he and
things.
Pawan have raised
That's
in
my
particular.
view. Definitely, it's
sure,
my
sure,
view.
Sure. What the points though that he
Yeah,
and
you
Pawan
see,
Khera have raised?
let me. Okay, you see a party that has used even terror for its political purposes.
Sorry,
they refer to Osama,
I remember
Osama
2008
Osama bin Laden,
when the Bombay
Hafiz
attacks
Saeed,
took place.
Hafiz
Nidhi,
Saeed,
I remember the
Hafiz Saeed,
advertisement,
please keep quiet.
and they are
Yeah, I'll
talking
let you
about
make your
Congress
point.
misusing terror.
Hafiz Saeed
Sorry,
is referred.
you are
what
the one.
for?
The
What
BJP
for?
came up with
Why are
those
they
silly
backing
ads
them? Why are
on-
they
on-
eulogizing
on
these
27th
terrorists?
27th
Because
of
they think they
November
can appease a
2008,
religion
we
with
were all
this.
shocked by those
They
advertisements.
use. They have
you were
made
misusing,
all such
you were
references.
misusing
Okay,
terror
okay,
attacks
gentlemen.
A
when
particular
innocent people were
religion.
dying,
Nidhi, I
when
think
the,
ask them
when
to
the,
keep quiet.
when the terrorists
Your-
were not
your
yet
viewers
killed
will
in
not
the
be
dark.
able to
Pawan,
make
you
out
made
what
your
we are
point.
speaking.
Mr. Rao,
Please
let's
ask him to
face
keep
it.
quiet.
Both the
Why
Congress
should
and the
you quieten
BJP have
everybody?
played
No, let me
politics on
quick.
terror.
No, I've not
Both parties
spoken.
have played
I've not
politics on
spoken.
terror.
Let
Yes.
me finish.
Yes, Mr. Rao, go ahead.
Okay, you can say that, but you see, when you talk about Hafiz Saeed and Osama bin Laden in praiseworthy terms, refer to them with a G. So you have
I'm sorry, that's
actually
not
a
an
vote
election
bank in
issue.
your
No,
mind.
no,
That
no.
people
In
can
which
see through
election
it.
speech?
This is
speech
what
who did
A.K.
that?
Anthony.
That's incorrect.
I think
Why do
Pawan
you
Khera
mislead?
has not
Why do
read
you
A.K.
lie?
Anthony
I'm
report.
sorry, but you have
A.K.
become an
Anthony
habitual
report.
liar.
You have not read A.K.
for
Anthony
20 years.
report.
You were never
He
such a
told
big liar.
you-
Why do you lie like
A.K.
this on television?
Anthony told you that you are misusing
No,
religion.
no.
That's
You
why
have
people
access to the
voted you
Anthony
out.
committee report.
This is
Wow.
what A.K.
How?
Anthony told you.
What, you have moles in our
You
office?
don't know.
How
One
do you know?
second, one second.
A.K. Anthony said you
No, he did not. First of all, you are
A.K.
lying
Anthony
there
told you
also.
after
Sorry, he
defeat
did
in
not.
2014
He did not.
Because you communalized
Did
your
not.
campaign. You
No, he did not.
communalized your
Tell me,
governance.
didn't
People
Amit
have
Shah say
punished you.
Badla
That's
Lo in
one of the reasons.
Muzaffarnagar in September
Go
2014?
look at the reports. Look at
Please
look
tell
at
me,
media reports.
didn't
You
Amit
may
Shah
have never
say
seen the
Badla Lo
report,
in
but look at the media
Muzaffarnagar?
reports.
Did he or did he
Alright.
not?
Gentlemen, this is becoming a
I
shouting
think
match.
you
1
are,
second.
you stand accused, Pawan Khera.
Sorry,
of
I am
using
accusing you
even
right now.
I
Please
just want
give
to
me
ask
a
Mr.
response.
Dave an
terror.
important
What do you mean
question.
For your politics.
Give me a response to
All right,
this.
Mr. Dave.
Didn't-
Mr. Dave is holding
sorry,
his
no,
head
I
and
have to finish this.
no,
Didn't Narendra Modi say in Bechara ji in September 2002 that हम पांच हमारे 25
What did Sonia say?
हम पांच
What
हमारे
did-
25
did-
इसका जवाब
did
दीजिए आप
Rahul Gandhi not
इसका
say
जवाब
Lakshar-e
दीजिए आप
Taiba
Okay,
is not
okay,
a threat?
gentlemen,
Is
1
Rahul
second.
Gandhi not a friend of Lakshar-e Taiba?
What?
Did he not say that
What
Lakshar-e
rubbish?
Taiba is
What are
not
you
a
talking
threat?
about? I think you just have
What
some
rubbish?
water and
This
then
is-
we talk.
this is
Have
what
some
WikiLeaks
water.
have
You
told
lost
you.
your
When did
sense.
Rahul Gandhi
This
say
is
When
anything
did
in
Rahul
favor of
Gandhi
the
say?
LG?
Are you
But one
lost
second.
it?
Rahul Gandhi did not contradict.
Mr.
What?
Dave,
He
Mr.
said
Dave,
Rahul
let me
Gandhi
ask you
said
this.
Lakshar-e
One
Taiba is not a
second.
threat.
One second, gentlemen. Mr. Dave,
You are
one very
friendly
important
towards
thing
even
that happened in
Lakshar-e Taiba.
today's
What are you talking
Supreme
about?
Court judgment. Let me finish. Is that it actually did not go into
Go
G.S.
and read
Verma's judgment.
newspapers.
Because it didn't
What,
touch upon.
Panchanya?
It did not. 1 second, Mr. Dave. It didn't touch upon the Hindutva as a way of life judgment. judgment? Or are you interpreting it in some other way? We have to wait for the full order, but it doesn't appear to have actually gone into that issue of what Justice Verma's judgment was.
Well, I think this debate unfortunately has really gone off the track. There is something which we must understand, that once the election process begins, then any statements which are made by a candidate, his agent or any other person for his behalf to seek a vote or to ask somebody to refrain from voting on the ground of religion, on the ground of caste, on the ground of language, on the ground of race or community is prohibited per se by the law. So that's the first thing which we must understand, that it is during the election process. Before the election process, you can have all kinds of debate. Every political party has the right to speak whatever it wants to
That's
speak.
an important
There is no problem.
Yes.
Now, one more thing that you must also understand, that I don't think Mr. Rao is right. I have just looked at the BJP's manifesto in the last election, and it did say BJP reiterates its stand to explore all possibilities within the framework of constitution to facilitate construction of Ram temple in Ayodhya. To my mind, this statement in its manifesto would be directly hit by the prohibition under 123(3). There is one more aspect. Under subsection 4 of section 123, there is a prohibition against creating a hatred or enmity between the two communities on the ground of religion in political process, in the election process. Now, you know, the line is extremely thin. These kind of statements, as you are now witnessing between Congress and BJP on this show itself, are statements which are so appallingly bad that they really reflect an extremely, I would say, unfortunate frame of mind of political parties without and have no concern, no regard for what the Constitution says or what the law says.
No matter, I think the Supreme Court is looking for an ideal situation. In an ideal world, you would have people fighting elections not on the basis of religion and caste, but on the basis purely of development.
The judges in the country will have to be sensitized. They have no idea how
are you going to implement it?
Law.
I come back to that very question. Wish we had more time. Thank you to you all for joining us on this important issue today. Let's see now, once the election dates are announced, how political parties will actually canvass in the upcoming state elections. Thank you to you all for joining us. Good night.